our history. Buildings and people and memories and dreams. Who better to tell us than those who were there? There's so much to learn from the stories they'll share. Living history. Living history.
Hello, I'm Ted Goldsborough. We're here with Living History, talking to Patrick McCabe, whose family had a quarry business and a construction business in Lower Merion Township for 60 years. So it's great to have Pat here today, and we appreciate his coming.
Thank you very much, Ted. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to you about old times.
Thanks, Pat. I'd like you to talk about the McCabe brothers.
Sure.
And, that term, I guess, is your father's generation.
My father's generation consisted of he and three brothers.
And their names again were?
Thomas, James, and Bernard.
Okay.
And what I'm looking at here is a picture of the monument that's at the corner of Bala Avenue and Conshohocken State Road in Bala Cynwyd, which shows my Uncle Tom's name as a veteran of the First World War. And looking over this picture, I noticed many other names of Bala Cynwyd residents that I knew the families of growing up.
Mm-hmm.
My Uncle Tom, like my dad and the rest of the McCabe brothers, were immigrants to this country. And I often wondered why Uncle Tom was fighting for America in the First World War. He wasn't even a citizen. And I don't know the answer to that. Maybe someone could dig up the history of why, what did they used to call them? Not nationals, but people who lived in this country prior. Eventually they all became citizens. But I don't think Uncle Tom was a citizen at the time of the First World War.
Did Uncle Tom ever mention any World War I experiences?
Oh, yes, many times. My Uncle Tom was a very flamboyant individual, more flamboyant than my dad or the other uncles. And he would regale me as a young boy with many, many tales of, his time in France. He was in France and fought in several of the battles over there.
So he was in combat.
And he was in combat and talked about the soldiers being gassed and all this kind of thing. But he may have suffered some results of it that were never borne out, because he was the first of the McCabe brothers to die. He was born about 1890 and died in 1954. So he was in his early 60s when he died, and the rest of them lived quite a bit longer than him.
Did he ever marry?
He did. He married my Aunt Kitty. They never had any family, but he was the uncle that for most of my lifetime knew him as the builder of the houses on Amherst Road.
Oh, okay.
That was his contribution to the McCabe group of enterprises.
And the audience, we're going to see some of those houses, pictures of those houses later on in the show.
Yes.
All right. Now, I guess because steam seems so foreign as a power source to today, like your rock crusher, your stone crusher was steam, but what else was steam?
Well, now we're looking at one of the steam shovels that is very much in my memory, that was owned by McCabe brothers through their time as a quarrying operation, powered by coal, anthracite coal, which was brought by freight car to this area, and we used to buy it by the carload. And the steam
several tons.
I don't know how many tons of coal would be on a fire on a car at the time.
Would you use your trucks to go
and
unload?
The trucks would go to a siding, which was just down at the bottom of the hill.
Tell the name of that siding.
Lee's Cut.
Lee's Cut.
Lee's Cut. It was a siding off of the, I guess it was the Pennsylvania Railroad.
Yes.
It was the Pennsylvania Railroad siding.
And the Lee's Shoddy Mill, probably?
And Lee's Shoddy Mill, which was right across the street from that
and maybe
mill.
That's where that term Lee's Cut maybe came from?
Maybe it came from there.
Is that part of the Kinwood Trail today?
It is, yes. It's
this is great.
First part of the
really
Kinwood
interesting.
Trail. Yeah. I remember many times going down to Lee's Cut with a McCabe Brothers truck and unloading bags of cement. I wasn't involved with much of the coal unloading operation. I was probably in school, but in the summertime I would go unload cement and various other building materials.
Were they in box cars?
They were in box cars. Came from the Lehigh Valley area, where all of the cement that came into the Philadelphia market was produced. This was before the time of trucking, major and before expressways and interstates and all of that. So one day I recall an episode where I was about 16 years old, and I was dispatched to go down to the Lee's Cut and unload a boxcar load of cement. Now I think there was 400 bags of cement came on and there's 94-pound bags. And we would have to pick them up off the floor one at a time, carry them out, put them on the truck. And the men I was with, the were permanent workers, never got around to telling me how many bags to put on the truck. So I overloaded the truck and started up the hill on Rock Hill Road, and get to the point where the hill gets a little steep. The front wheels of the truck start to come off the ground. Well, I was never more scared in all my life. And my uncles saw the truck coming up the hill with the two front wheels off the ground. And I am not going to tell you how much difficulty I got into with that little escapade. Something I'll always remember.
So the older guys were kind of playing a trick on you.
Yeah,
maybe.
they were. They were, very much so. Yep. Yeah, but it was
now, Pat,
part of growing up.
Where was the coal stored on the machine, and how much did it take a day?
Okay. Part of my job at one point was to go to the coal dumping ground that we had on the property, shovel the coal onto a pickup truck and drive the pickup truck over to the steam shovel. And if you notice on the back end of the steam shovel, there's a little wooden door that's built into the whole the wooden frame of it, and you would shovel the coal into that, and the coal bin was inside. The coal bin was maybe about 3 feet square and about 5 feet high. You'd fill that up with coal, and of course the engineer or the fireman. Sometimes they had two men working the steam shovel, the engineer and the fireman. Fireman would, just keep throwing coal on the fire as needed to keep the steam to the proper levels for operation. So that's the way that worked.
So it was sort of like a miniature steam engine. You had a boiler in there.
Yes.
And the steam drove a piston, I guess, or how did the power get to the mechanism?
There were pistons that drove the gears that made the operation. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Picture of the gears. Now I put just for my own sake, I guess, I put a picture in of another steam engine. It wasn't yours, although I thought maybe it was in the beginning. But this steam engine was over on today's Jefferson Street, parallel to the Reading Railroad, going up to Belmont Hills to West Manayunk.
Yes.
So I guess this steam engine was similar in design to yours.
That looks like something out of an old movie like Deliverance or something like that, doesn't it? But that particular steam shovel looks to be of a larger variety. It's stronger. It looks to be longer than ours were. probably a bigger boiler, bigger coal bin, etc. And probably a workhorse. That looks like it's from the era of the 1920s or something.
That's
way
right.
Before my time.
I guess I cut it off when I printed this, but down on the bottom, I think it said like 1924 or something like that.
Right.
And now, Pat, what happened when I was a kid? Well, I was in graduate school, but what happened to your steam shovels?
Physically, where did they go?
Yeah, where did it go?
Yeah, they were sold for scrap.
Oh.
They were sold for scrap.
But it was still working?
No, by the time they were sold, they had been idled for I don't know how many years, but they've been sitting on the property idled. That was the way things were done in some family businesses, and McCabe's was typical in the sense that they had a piece of equipment, and if it didn't run anymore, they just left it there. Today, the management procedures are a little more streamlined, and they either trade in or get rid of things. But the McCabe's at one time had an awful lot of what they called cold iron sitting around.
I see, yeah.
Steamrollers, steam shovels, trucks, air compressors, you name it.
Yeah.
And one of my uncles had the brilliant idea that the price of scrap was going to go up. And he was going to make a fortune. And I don't know if they ever hit it. This was before I became in any kind of management. And,
but could you guess, and I took a picture of this in '62, could you guess about how much longer that survived?
Not much longer than that.
Oh, it's about the end.
Yeah, it was about the end, yes. The year '62 picture probably... Well, my brothers and I formulated our business in 1965, which was a formation, the beginning of Rock Hill Quarry and Supply Company, our corporation, and we had no steam operation
so between
whatsoever.
2 and 5 it had stopped.
Yeah. Right.
Now, Pat, we got to take a break here. We're up against a time break, so we'll be right back and continue our talk with Pat McCabe.
Looking forward to it, Ted.
Thanks.